You're listening to My Grito Podcast Network, celebrating the culture of Chicanos and Latinos one story and voice at a time. Listen to more My Grito Podcast Network shows over at mygrito.net. Connect on social, on Instagram and Facebook at My Grito, the My Grito Podcast Network.
3, 2, 1. Boom! What is up, Mind Buzz Universe? Welcome back to another podcast episode of the Mind Buzz Podcast. I'm your host, Gil, and working the 1, 2, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6, and also the co-producer of the Mind Buzz is Amber behind the boards.
Hola. You're clapping for me? What?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for all your... It's producer appreciation day.
Oh. Thank you. I didn't know.
Aside
and
from...
you just started appreciating me right now at 7:18?
November 21st, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast. We got a full-fledged episode tonight. I am so excited for our guest for this evening. But before all that good stuff, Amber is going to lead us with the My Grito Weekly.
Yeah.
So what do we got in the world of My Grito, Amber?
I will tell you right now. So 3LH will be performing with Necromantics and other bands at the Observatory in Santa Ana on November 22nd.
That's tomorrow night.
That's tomorrow already?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a day before Thanksgiving. We went last year, huh? So that's tomorrow. So tickets are still available. You should go out there. It's a great show, great venue. Lots of fun. Burn some calories before you eat them all the next day.
Yeah.
And also, don't forget to pick up the My Grito vinyl bundle at mygrito.net. We own that, and it's a very cool collection. I believe it's 5 vinyls from the bands on the My Grito label. So go out and get that. It'd be a great addition to your collection, or even just something for, I was going to say Halloween, for Christmas.
I got a great Halloween bit. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
Yeah, so tomorrow 3LH is playing with Necromantics. Awesome show at the Observatory in Orange County, right?
Santa Ana. Oh, no, wait. Did I say Santa Ana?
The Observatory.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, Santa Ana.
Okay, cool. Is it Santa Ana? You sure? Is it? Yeah, Santa Ana? Jeanette's giving us the nod, yes. But yeah, tickets are going to be in at 3LH's Instagram page. You'll see that with the Necromantics, my personal favorite psychobilly band. What else do we got?
That's all I got.
That's all you got? Oh,
wait, but your show on Saturday.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the segue into that. And giving away the punchline. Stepping on it all the way. Well, I kind of want to highlight this week's open mics. This week we had an open, well, not we, but did I take it down? I did take down the picture. Okay. Oh, oops. Sorry, Gibby. Gibby Lopez throws an awesome open mic in the city of Claremont at First Amendment Pizza Joint. Awesome night this week. He hosts that every Monday night. So if you want to work on your craft, work on your 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute set, just look for that link on my page. And then also if you're following Gibby Lopez on all the socials on Instagram. And then every Wednesday in the city of Bell, is it Bell, right?
Bell. Mm-hmm.
I get so confused because there's Bell Gardens, Bellflower, Pacific Bell, all those crazy stuff. It's like they ran out of names for towns. But in the city of Bell at Beer Thug Brewery is the Soy Funny open mic night. Tomorrow night's going to be awesome because they're having a comedy competition. So if you're a big fan of comedy, you are a comic yourself, come out to to Beer Thug. It's going to be a good night. I will be there, hosted by Sergio El Checo. And then, come out. Come watch our stuff. It's pretty great. But let's see, what else? Saturday, I'm going to be performing live at the Soy Funny Comedy Festival in the city of Long Beach, and I am super, super duper stoked. Tickets right now are 50% off. So go to my page, go to the link, and I'll put it down in the show description, of course. So you can go to my personal page at Gibili Delic, or go to the @TheMindBuzz Instagram, and it's right there in the link. It's going to be super fun. Come hang out, come eat some great food, and enjoy some comedy.
Yeah.
Cool?
Cool.
All right. You have anything else before we get into today's guest?
I got nothing.
You got nothing. All right. Cool. All right, Miss Nothing. Well, without further ado, let's get into today's interview. Jeanette from LA Taco. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
Of course. Me too. I'm super excited to talk to you.
Let's do it.
So you are a journalist and creator. Mm-hmm. So how long have you been a journalist for?
So officially, I want to say 3 years, because that's kind of after I graduated. But I've been writing and like freelancing for more than 3 years. So when I was in school, I was still like trying to get my name out there, the stories out there, like trying to write outside of school. But officially 3 years.
So you're a journalist and reporter, right? And creator.
I say creator because I love, like, TikTok nowadays también. Like, I love sharing not just my work, like, that I do, like, on a daily basis, but también, like, just my everyday life, like, cocinando con mi mom and stuff like that.
Nice.
Okay. Amber, what was that last part that she said?
Janet, Gil doesn't speak Spanish, but I'll translate. You be you.
Amber's my translator.
She says she likes to cook with her mom.
Oh, perfect.
Documented on, cocinando.
Just like cooking, just anything really, just everyday stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
I feel like those are my favorite videos to watch on TikTok, though.
Food videos, right? Like
food and like real life videos. So good job.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of cooking videos right now on TikTok. Yeah. I feel like that's all you watch too, Amber.
Well, yeah, because that's my passion is food. So
yeah. Okay.
I watch what I want,
Do
you make cooking videos too, or is that what you just look at?
So I love watching cooking videos. Mm-hmm. I love cooking whenever I get the chance, because sometimes I'm too busy and also like you can't. But yeah, I love doing like recording myself with my mom. Like last time, I think one of the last videos was like us cooking carne en chile, and we like go through the steps. I've also done like a bolillo and hot chocolate and stuff like that, like how to make it from scratch.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's good.
I'm like, oh, that sounds good.
What is it? Bolillo and
bolillo
the bread,
chocolate,
right?
Yeah, and then you dip it in the hot chocolate.
What? Is it like sweet?
No, the bread itself, you can use it for like to dip it like with hot chocolate, or like you can use it to make tortas, like sandwiches.
It's like the one I like to eat in breakfast with my egg. So it's like salty, savory, but then you put it into hot chocolate and it like balances. I like that combination. Like sweet and savory is like my go-to. Definitely.
And it is chocolate season already, or hot chocolate season. So it's perfect.
What do you like? Do you like champurrado or abuelita hot chocolate?
We had this
it is the debate
at work, and we're split. Some do not like champurrado, and I'm just appalled because I'm like, how can you not like champurrado? Yeah. Like, I love champurrado. Like, hot chocolate and champurrado cannot be in the same section because champurrado is a lot thicker.
Right.
And like with a tamal, it's just so good. Like,
you're gonna hate me then.
Why?
I do not like champurrado. I think for me it's the consistency. I don't like the thickness of, because I like all the flavors, I like all the ingredients that go in there, but I don't like the thickness. Like, just like I don't like arroz con leche and like things like that. I think it's like the thick. I know. I'm sorry.
I just cooked arroz con leche this week too, because it rained, and like as soon as like we get a little bit of gloom, I'm like, okay, we're cooking hot chocolate caldo or something.
It's like right on the stove, ready to go when once rainfall hits.
Yeah.
I remember eating that when I was a child, the arroz con leche.
Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, champurrado, I get it. I mean, I get people who don't like it. It could definitely be a texture thing. But I love it. Like with tamales. And I know it doesn't make sense because tamales are made with masa. And that's also included in the champurrado.
Oh, okay.
So I get why people are like, but...
Maybe overwhelmed with the different gritty textures, right?
Yeah, but it's so good.
But it's like people that eat chilaquiles with tortillas. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't.
Yeah.
No?
I had a friend whose uncle she used to tell me, she's like, yeah, my uncle eats chilaquiles with tortillas. Like if he was eating like beans, like he would rip up the tortilla and then grab the chilaquiles. And I was like,
that's funny.
Or who does the chilaquiles burrito?
Evil Cook.
Yes. Oh my God, that thing is delicious. Tortilla overload, but
there you go. That's right.
Fucking amazing.
But it works.
Yeah, it works. It works out really well. But you work for LA Taco and you report for them. So tell me a little bit about what you do for them, because obviously you are a foodie too, because you guys throw these amazing Latino food festivals. So tell me about your work.
Yeah, so I've been with LA Taco for about 3 years this year, and a lot of the work that I've been done with them has been community-based reporting. And I think for sure, like the one thing that I'm most known for is my coverage on the street vending communities in Los Angeles. Just like really deep diving into why they're still being criminalized, how they're impacted by robberies, attacks, and laws that are in place. And that's kind of like one of the biggest things that I'm mostly known for, I would like to say, is my coverage for street vending. But of course, I also help out with social media. I love food. I love sharing and writing about features, especially highlighting local businesses in Los Angeles. And sometimes I get to do that in Santana. I'm from Santana. So sometimes I get to cover OC restaurants, and it's just amazing to be able to do that, or to highlight a family business. But yeah, that I do a lot at LA Taco. I mean, I feel like we all wear many hats, despite like whatever title we have. We're a small team, but we're a mighty team. That's what we like to say. Somos pocos pero locos. We're a little bit, but we're crazy. But we get it done. You know.
Gotcha.
And you know, LA Taco, we cover news, food, and culture in Los Angeles, and we like to say that we like to cover the real Los Angeles, like. The Los Angeles you get to know when you're, you know, whether you've actually been living there, or the Los Angeles you get to know when you're actually interacting with community on a day-to-day basis.
The Mind Buzz is powered by Mind Buzz Media. Mind Buzz Media is an on-site video and audio podcast production company. Have you ever thought about starting your own video and audio podcast? Or do you have an existing podcast that you want to take to the next level? Mind Buzz Media brings a professional podcast studio to you. Visit mindbuzz.org for more. So for up until this year, following all your work, I had no idea LA Taco did everything else besides just cover food, which was... It was kind of nice to see that. Did you fall into the street vendor beat, or was it just something that you were very passionate about?
I feel like I've always wanted to cover street vending, but I wasn't sure. I remember when I was in Cal State Long Beach, I really wanted to tap into that, but I was still very much insecure in like my writing skills and my reporting skills. So I just felt like I wasn't going to touch it. And then once I got with LA Taco, one of my first pieces was a more casual piece about the tamalera queen in downtown Los Angeles during the pandemic, how her business that she used to work as a dishwasher at closed down, and she had to turn to selling tamales to make money. And then basically she was being harassed by the health department, and her boss told her, you can come sell your tamales here. Like, we're not even open. You can use the space. And then from there, I just started to dig deeper. So I was kind of thrown into it without knowing that I was going to be sticking to this beat for so long. But I love it. And I do have a background. Like I asked myself too, like, why am I so interested in this? Besides like the obvious and like wanting to inform people about what's going on, and help get these voices out there, and these stories out there. But my family, they're street vendors. We have friends who are street vendors here, like in the US, and in Los Angeles, family who are street vendors, taco vendors. And in Ensenada in Mexico, my dad's family has a line of like marisqueros, which they sell seafood, and there's seafood stands. And that was my dad's first job too, when he first got to not to the US, to Mexico, like the city. So yeah, I just feel like it's a passion of mine. I also feel like it's just people trying to make a living, and they're entrepreneurs after all, and like you notice it when you go out in the street. They're just trying to make a living like you and I,
Right. So it's pretty deep rooted into your background as a person.
Yeah.
Right. Street vending.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've heard from street vendors, I know somebody who has gone through something similar. Whether that's in my family or like just a friend or somebody that I know.
Wow.
And so, I mean, obviously, I grew up here. I grew up in Paramount, and I go to LA, anywhere, even right there in Compton on Atlantic Avenue. You go at, after 5:00 and there's already all these food vendors there. So I'm well aware. And I think anyone growing up here in California, kind of, that's our culture, right? The food vendors, like that's what you see, whether you go and you participate and you buy stuff from them or you don't, but you always see someone selling fruta or a taco person and things like that. We've had it, I could say, like, for me, 33 years, right? My entire life that I've seen it. Why do you think that it's been so difficult? Like, why do you think we're not progressing? I mean, obviously we have, right, in some aspects.
Yeah.
But why do you think that it's still... It's such a hot topic of like, why haven't we found other ways to be able to have these people vend, the way that maybe, quote, the city wants, or what's happening that it's not letting, these things happen, or these people get permits or vend legally?
Yeah. So a lot of people have this really misconception that street vendors don't want to get their permits. And the reality is that a lot of them have tried multiple times. Not only is it expensive, a blueprint for your cart, which it's required by the health department. By the way, I call the health department permit like the golden ticket, like in Willy Wonka, like literally the golden ticket, because when you have that, then you're basically safe from like getting, your stuff confiscated or anything like that. But there's still a lot of hurdles that vendors have to go through. Permits are expensive. Blueprints are almost like $1,000 per blueprint. And then let's say you go to the health department and you submit everything and there's something wrong with your blueprint and you have to go back and like correct it. That's like more money.
By blueprint, you mean like an actual blueprint of what your cart looks like and where you're setting up?
Yeah, like a blueprint of the cart itself, because the cart itself has to be approved by the health department. And should they say, hey, like it's actually still missing a sink or this or that, like you have to go back to the drawing board, and that's like, you're having to pay everything again, depending how long it takes you to like modify your cart to those requirements.
And each application takes, like, there's a fee, right? There's a fee along with that. There's
a fee that goes along with that. And, not only that, but there's a lot of lack of outreach, although there's a lot of great organizations out there like Inclusive Action, Community Power Collective, and even Revolution Carts, who are helping street vendors get their permits and get carts in their hands. Like Revolution Carts is the one who created the first legal tamal cart in LA. Wow. And when you think about it, it's been years, like over 100 years, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And we can go back in this and reference it to one of my stories because I mentioned it.
Do you have it on one of your...
It should be, if you, Revolution Carts LA Taco. I don't know if it's on the link tree. But Revolution Carts LA Taco, we covered when they first, like when the health department first like approved their cart. And it is crazy to think that so many years have passed. I think one of the first LA Times reports of a street vendor was a tamal cart. And to think that all the way back then, and we're now in like 2022, 2023, I don't recall if it was...
Is it this one?
Create one of a kind legal tamal carts. I believe so. And we did give away carts with Rockstar and Revolution carts. We
nice.
got really lucky to give away some carts. But to think that it was so many, and these are what the carts look like. He has them designed by local artists.
Those are awesome.
Like
Can you put that on the screen, Amber?
And they are, I mean, they're fully equipped with everything that you need. These are tamal carts. And ever since then, they've had so many vendors that they've been able to get their hands on them, like for them. And a lot of them are like free. So they've been able to give them away.
Wow.
But to think that the first legal tamal cart that we have, and it's been so many years of having street vendors, and we're barely getting the first legal tamal cart. That just puts into perspective a little bit of how hard it is to actually get an approved cart. Like right now, if you're a taco vendor, you're technically illegally cooking in the streets because their setup isn't approved by the health department. But how do we get to the point where the health department, what a lot of things that the vendors say is, how do we get to communicate with the health department and the people making the decisions that are putting the requirements on us?
Yeah.
Because they need to understand that a lot of the stuff that they're asking of us doesn't work for a street vendor. Before this year, the food code law was actually outdated, and it was written for brick and mortar businesses, not street vendors. So they were asking vendors for like sinks, microwaves. I mean, a huge cart that you don't picture your elotero pushing around.
Yeah, a temporary food facility is totally different than a brick and mortar.
Exactly.
And sometimes because I've seen these applications before, and most of them are exactly that. They're asking for things that a typical temporary food facility won't have. But I think that there's definitely ways to work around it, especially like with sinks. If there's like they have the gravity sinks that you can do. You don't, well, for hand washing stations, but when it comes to like 3 compartment sinks, not a lot of temporary stands have a 3 compartment sink for that. You know what I mean?
And then there's also like, I do believe that in a perfect world, brick and mortar businesses could work together with street vendors. Because they can provide the bathroom and the cleaning station without them having to actually have it in their cart.
Right.
You know, because they can set up right in front. Of course, that depends. You're not going to put a tamal vendor in front of a tamal business.
Correct.
But I think that there is so much room. There's always this war or this battle between brick and mortars and street vendors. But I think seeing like even Revolution carts, with the carts, they're setting up vendors that are having like their full shifts and everything, like in front of Home Depots. And they have like a contract with Home Depot, like they can be there and they have like consistent income, and they know how much they're going to be getting X day or week or whatever, ballpark, you know, but it's sustainable. And they don't have to worry about the health department, nothing, because they have everything approved. But I think there's a huge room there for the city to sit down with street vendors, to sit down with the health department, to sit down with, you know, brick and mortar business and say, how can we make this work? And what does that look like? That works for everybody.
And even in a humane way, because I've seen videos of health department going or whether it be like the police and literally dumping everything, knocking over stands, like why the need for all of that? Like what's the purpose?
Is that still going on? Like people, what has been the latest anything like that?
I believe it was in Fontana. I may be
wrong.
Fontana
is digging themselves a hole right now.
Yeah, and I believe it was Fontana.
They're freaking wild right now. Fontana's wilding out right now. Can you pull that up, Amber?
Yeah, I think Enamorado Backup, I believe is his right now his current account. But I think he posted about it, and this was actually a crazy video because you see the health department and usually they have to identify themselves. Usually the health department always comes with the police.
Yeah.
What we've been told by the health department is that usually the police assist the health department and is there for the safety of the code enforcement officers. Should somebody try anything.
So there's there's a code enforcer and a public health.
So the public health has code enforcement officers that they send out to check on the stands, the food trucks, and everything to make sure that they have everything permitted. But yeah, enamorado.
What was it? Enamorado.
Yeah,
it's a backup one.
Yeah, I should say if you type in enamorado, it probably should be the.
Oh.
Yep, and he's already But yeah, he posted the video, and it's that. I think it's that one that says code enforcement where he's pointing on top of that one. Oh, actually right there where the bottom, that one.
This one?
Yeah.
City of Fontana.
Yeah, and these code enforcement did not show they didn't identify themselves. Usually they'll show their ID. They'll go up to the business and let them know, hey, we're code enforcement. We're here to inspect your space. But many times, like in this case, things get violent. There was a different case where...
Jeez.
Yeah.
Enterprise rental vehicle.
This is where we've seen it, right? At the beginning.
But there's so many instances like this, and I feel like a lot of people ask, like, why is there a rise in this right now? But the reality, I feel, is that this has always happened. We're just equipped with phones now. And like we're able to, now it's not going to be something that happens behind the scenes. Like, no, if something happens, somebody's going to pull out their phone, record it, and post it online.
Journalism is everywhere now, right?
Right. Yeah. Phones. Like, and just people like, they're going to record it and they're going to post it and they're going to hold you accountable for things. Right. And in this instance, the health department of Fontana, who's obviously cracking down on street vendors, and it's horrible. Instead of like trying to work with them, especially with, SB 946, which legalized street vending, and SB 972, which modernized the food code law that we were talking about earlier.
And this is San Bernardino County, or is it California in general?
California in general.
Okay.
So when SB 946 passed, which was what legalized street vending, they allowed cities are still allowed to implement their own rules. So they'll follow whatever, the state law is, but they're allowed to implement their own rules on street vending.
And this is by city. So cities are able to create their own rules.
Or add to, yeah.
To add to, okay.
Yeah, and they can regulate street vendors as they please in a way. I want to say that very loosely because I do think that there are limits to what they can and can't do, and I'm looking into it as we speak because the Fontana situation really just shook me. Like, I was just like, what? They're trying to recriminalize street vending. They're trying to implement like not fines, but actual citations that will become misdemeanors, which is what SB 946 took away.
Wow.
SB 946 took away street vendors getting...
How long did that last for? Like, how long was it?
2018 was when SB 946 passed.
Okay. And
then I believe last year, I'm not trying to get my dates mixed up, but last year is when the food code law, SB 972, passed, and basically that rewrote the food code law a little bit and tweaked it to kind of like help vendors a little bit more out when it comes to the requirements for the carts. But of course, with everything, there's loopholes and there's other things. Pero yeah, so SB 946 legalized street vending and took away them getting misdemeanors or being arrested. And basically Fontana is like, no, we're bringing it back and we want to do it. And they're having like a task force that's going to be going out 6 days a week, enforcing all of this. And should someone try and stop them, like let's say in the video, they can get arrested or, get a misdemeanor, which is crazy.
More things that they need to be putting money and effort and funds into than coming in and harassing street vendors. It's ridiculous. And I'll tell you like an instance of kind of with like health department. And I know that different health departments, you know, I can't generalize the entire health department, but when years back we were looking at an establishment for one of our brick and mortars, and it was a donut shop, right? Prior to us getting it was a donut shop, and it was probably one of the most disgusting facilities that I had ever seen in my life. And it's a brick and mortar. You walk in there, you get what you get. They had an A in front, and I kept thinking to myself, how are they in business? How are they, you know, doing all of this? And how is public health coming? I mean, like how are they coming and giving them this A? Like how? Like I'm telling you, like complete grime on everything. Things have not been washed, cleaned properly in probably years, and they were still running and functioning and had an A right up in front. And I'm like, I get it that street vendors maybe, you know, certain things that they can't do or anything, but like how do you justify that just because you have the funds to provide, you know, space for yourself versus someone that doesn't? Like it should all be treated equally. And even like having conversations with someone that we knew that did that, he was like, no, he's like, you would like probably never go out to eat in restaurants that you think are these 5-star restaurants that are these beautiful restaurants. He's like, if you saw their kitchens. Yeah. And I'm like, and how are they still being let, you know, to be served and versus street vendors that can't at all? Like it's crazy.
I think it all boils down to how much money the restaurant makes for the county. 100%. I think that when it comes to the public health and like, say for instance, one of the biggest events in Los Angeles County, that event it has a lot of hold on the public health department in that county. Mm-hmm. It does, because it makes a lot of money. And if that event doesn't get those permits, I mean, it's a lot of money. Like like in permits, it's a lot of money. And we're talking about 200 vendors. Yeah. At what, like 100 and I want to say 160 each, but that's not per vendor, it's per space. Yeah. So that's like thousands of dollars, right?
And people also, you know, vendors have also said, they've suggested, like, let's use spaces in the city that aren't being used, and let's work with the city. Right. Like, let's make a market that's, you know, legal and like that people can go to in the day or night, however they want to make it. But let's utilize these spaces that aren't being used and let's put them to use. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it has to do with money. Everything, money rules the world, unfortunately. Right. You know, but let's not forget too that the city does make money off of vendors too. Oh yeah. You know, misconception. A lot of people say vendors don't pay taxes. Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. They do pay taxes. They contribute to the money flow in the community because they're purchasing items in bulk from local businesses and serving their community. You know, there's vendors who are in food desert locations where there is no affordable, healthy, or good food. They're there. It's affordable. They provide safety. I say this a lot. If you're a woman walking down in the street and you arrive to a dark patch, you're going to feel nervous walking by that dark patch. Mm-hmm. But if a street vendor, a taco stand is set up with all of their lights and everything, and there's people there, you automatically feel like, oh, okay, there's people around. I feel safe. I'm going to walk by like nothing, you know? So they provide a lot. And there's also been studies that show that brick and mortar businesses, like you mentioned, aren't necessarily the cleanest. You know, a lot of people like to say they need to get permits like the restaurants and all of this. Like, why not just follow the rules? One, vendors do want to follow rules. They're not against rules. They don't want a free-for-all, like anything like that. Yeah. They want to follow rules. They're okay with following rules. It's just, you know, they want the respect. that they are actual businesses and that they do clean their fruit or product, whatever it is that they sell. Because there's studies have been shown that you're more likely to get sick at a restaurant than you are at a food stand.
Right. Like I'm trying to figure out where this misconception started. Like this weird notion of street vendors and them being, not as clean or not, I don't know. Where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes also from the health department itself. When you see them shut down a market or shut down a vendor themselves, you'll see them use almost like the same language. Public safety. It's a danger to public safety. Mm-hmm. They're blocking the sidewalks. And I'm not saying just like there's restaurants that, may not be 5-star. I'm sure there's street vendors, like we're everywhere, everybody, like nobody's perfect, but again, I just think that there's a misconception that vendors are dirty, and that is, I can confirm I've eaten at many street vendor stands and markets, and I haven't gotten sick, and it's just delicious food. And I think it's just about seeing the importance of them and seeing how we can like work together. Like when I say we, I mean like street vendors, the community in the city, because people want to go eat at food stands, like it's a different experience than when you go into a restaurant. No shade to restaurants. I love restaurants and love supporting them as well. But there's just a different vibe, when you go to a food stand, the food just tastes different when you're standing there and you know that you can just order another taco after you're done with one. It's different. It's
an experience for sure.
And it's culture, it's not just Mexican culture. Like there's food vendors selling all kinds of food, and
Asian food, Indian food, Italian. Everything. You go to New York, right? And there's pretzel vendors, there's hot dog vendors, there's Mediterranean vendors. It's worldwide. It's not just Mexican and Latino. It's international. It's worldwide.
And it's, I don't know, I just feel like street vendors, if you were to take them away, it's like taking a part of LA's soul.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Drive into LA, you see street vendors everywhere. Whether it's a flower vendor selling, flowers in the corner, the fruit vendor, but you will always see a vendor.
And it's one of those things that it's like, I don't want to say ingrained in you, but like even like here, like with me, like when I moved out here a couple months ago, but being so close to Atlantic, that Compton Street that I was telling you, to coming out here, and I'm like, oh, I want tacos, and then we have to like drive around out here for a while to even look for one, and and then it becomes where like, well, where are they at? Like they're everywhere over there, closer, things like that. Like it just becomes this part of your identity too, of just like going and eating a taco at night, or I don't want to cook and I'm gonna go get
easy access
from or tamales in the morning, something. It's definitely part of our culture.
I wish we took a picture of that sign we seen today. I'm not too sure if it was Chino or Chino Hills, but
no, I think we were already in
Pomona.
No, we were.
It wasn't Pomona. It's Chino Hills.
Where do we get the carnitas from? Ontario?
I don't know. Can you look it up? Because
I think it was already Ontario.
It had a huge sign. I think it was on what street? Pipeline. Mm-hmm. Look up Pipeline, no vending zone, because there was that whole street. It was like every other 10 feet had a big sign of no food vending allowed.
And they used to, because I remember some lady that would sell
those are new signs.
Tacos de canasta right there one time that I was like, oh, I want to go back. And we never went back, but it was there and those signs weren't there.
Yeah, and that's what right now street vendors in Los Angeles actually are suing the city of LA for no vending zones, because there is no vending zones basically in the most populated areas like Hollywood Boulevard, where there's a lot of the arenas and things like that, and they're considered no vending zones, so they're fighting that right now.
So the big question for me is like, why? Like, is that a loaded question? Like, why don't they allow vending in certain spots?
That would be a question for the city.
Yeah.
Because I would like to know myself.
That's a big question, right?
But, you know, what they say, or at least what they've said in previous, when we've asked them questions, or even other reporters that have written about this, you know, they say it's just restricting public right away. Obviously, again, health hazard and things like that.
Like,
but
is there like traffic involved, like public enforcement?
When you go, because I visited, I mean, I've been there a couple of times. Just speaking of Hollywood Boulevard and stuff, like it's not. I don't know if like they're going on a different day or maybe, but like it's not really the way they make it seem. Like they make it seem like it's so crowded that like you're sardines like walking and like they're blocking the sidewalk and things like that. But there's enough space for everybody.
And there's so many other things happening as well. It's not just vendors.
Exactly. It's like a busy street, you know, also in the Santa Monica Pier and things like that. These are touristy areas. These are busy areas. You know, like even if you were to take the vendors out, they're still going to be busy areas. That's just how they are. They're tourist areas, you know, so it's not the vendors that are the issue. Why they're going against them, I have no idea. I always say like, and I ask them, and I do ask them, you know, do you try and talk to them? Do you try set up meetings with them? Or anything like that, and they say no, you know, that they pass out pamphlets and things like that, but that's not really outreach. Passing out a pamphlet.
And it's such a like a cop out to say that, because again, I'm only gonna speak on like my experiences. We had an experience with our city one time with some permits, right? We were doing our open mics at our you know, at the coffee shop and things like that, and we said, okay, well, we have an establishment, we're inside, we're not being loud, we're not bringing, you know, this a banda, you know, 15-piece banda, nothing like that. It was
not yet,
speakers.
by the way. It's coming soon.
It's coming soon, but not yet. And we had someone come. I remember the day, and well, actually, they called the shop, and obviously we don't really answer the shop one, you know, the staff does, things like that. And then someone came with a letter, and they literally left the letter in the front and like scurried away, like didn't even say, hey, can you give this to so and so? Nothing, you know, things like that. They called, whatever. So the whole gist of it all was that we were making too much noise for surrounding places, that someone had seen us making grilling carne asada outside. And I'm like, why would we be grilling carne asada outside of a coffee shop? Like that's such a, I don't even want to say racist, but it's such a like stereotype. Like, why the hell would we be making carne asada outside? Like, you know? So anyways, what I'm trying to get at is that once they finally had a conversation with us, they were like, well, we sent A, B, and C. And we're like, okay, well, you sent A, B, and C literally on the day of, like, not prior, not a month, not a week. You didn't give us any notification. You literally did everything because you knew you didn't have it done prior. So you did everything all at once and sent it all at once. So all these things that they had said, like, oh, well, we gave you guys a warning. Well, the warning was done on that day. On the same day we got the letter. On the same day that somebody called. And we said, okay, that's fine. We'll pay for what we need to pay, because they were saying, oh, it's a permit. Well, we went to the city and we said, okay, well, what's the permit we have to get? Oh, well, we're not too sure. And we're like, okay, so if you're not sure, how are we going to be sure?
Exactly.
And then, you know, weeks passed, and then they were like, okay, well, it's because we have to make the permit. And I'm like, what do you mean you have to make the permit? Oh, well, it's because your business doesn't fall in line with some of the other permits we have, so then we have to create a permit just for you. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this was something that to me was ridiculous, because they were making something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember sending this huge letter, and I literally was like really pissed off. And I sent a letter and I was saying, you know, there's other things happening in the city that should be looked at, that should be taxed at. I said, and you're going to come after a business, a family business, people that have lived and contribute to the city and are contributing to something, you know, positive to the city. And this is what you choose to focus yourself on. And I feel like that's how these cities are. They're choosing to channel all their energy and their resources on things that are of such low caliber like this of trying to stop people from making a livelihood. And it's ridiculous that they're making up their own rules as they go. And I think that, like, kind of answering your question, Gil, it's like they don't even know themselves why they don't want it. They're doing it as they go.
Right. Yeah, I think the code should, like, who and when were these things written?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how long have we been following these city rules or public health rules? Like, I believe decades, centuries maybe. But I feel like at a certain point, as society evolves, so should some rules.
Yes.
Right? And I guess the popularity of street vending, if it's popular, then maybe some of the rules need to be, re-looked at.
Like, see how you can work with it.
Right. Instead of
trying to shut it down.
I think they just don't want to use their resources on figuring that out.
Which is unfortunate because, like, similar to what you experience, a lot of vendors experience that. Let's say they do get that warning or they have that first experience where they get their stuff taken away. They'll try to go get those permits, but it's confusing. I mean, when I first started looking into it, like pretending like going to the website and seeing how, like, if I were to become a vendor, like, what do I need? The language is confusing, and it's
in this LA or San Bernardino?
LA, LA, yeah, and it's
Orange County is tough.
Yeah, that's
Orange County is Orange County is probably the strictest public health that I've ever worked with ever in my life. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a whole other situation.
LA is pretty lenient, but compared, like you said, compared to the others, San Bernardino is but Los Angeles, if you don't know the verbiage, if you're not well aware of these different codes, and it's difficult. And it's very hard.
A larger city, so it's hard, like if you have to go to a specific office, it may be out of the way for a street vendor.
Right.
Yeah. And there's just a lot of things that they need to do and a lot of places that they need to go to. And a lot of them are like I want to do it. I don't care. Like, I'll do anything. I just want my permit. Yeah. But again, when it comes to the carts, if they don't have what the health department is asking for, then they don't get that.
And
permit.
there's no like another thing like that I experienced was just there's no one really leading you to what you're supposed to do. Exactly. They tell you need to pull this permit, this and that, and if you've never dealt with that, it's like, well, where do I go? What do I do? What does it look like? And then you get to a place and they're not helpful at all. And then I can only imagine with street vendors, the language barrier.
Yes, there's a huge language barrier. And that's why, like, I give props all the time to, like Inclusive, Community Power Collective, Eden Enamorado, who obviously everybody knows him. He supports street vendors big time. And he does a lot of behind the scenes stuff that doesn't get posted online. He's literally physically helping street vendors fill out applications and walking them through the process. Revolution Carts does the same thing. And like, that's the kind of work that the city needs to be putting money into, is literally instead of getting a task force to enforce, rules, they should get a task force that is literally solely focusing on talking to vendors and building a relationship with vendors. Because you're not just going to go up to a business and be like, you need permits, here's a pamphlet, do it. Like, you need to build relationships with these people that work in your city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how you do it, right? Is build the relationship with the city or public health or whatever. Like, it's that human interaction, right? Yes. Like, without that, it's easy to exclude people and groups and vendors. It's hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a big topic, but we'll be here all day if we break it down to everything. But it's a tough situation. But the good thing is that there is people out there trying to shine light on it and who are constantly fighting to 100% legalize street vending. Not just in Los Angeles. I feel like there's a big movement there, but this is a problem that's affecting New York, that's affecting Orange County, that's affecting many cities within and outside of California.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see some progression in the next couple of years?
I hope so. At least in Los Angeles, you know, the street vendors do have a lawsuit against the city for no vending zones, and I hope that will open up, depending obviously where it goes. I'm hoping that will open up a conversation within the departments to be like, okay, really, like, instead of trying to fight everything that's coming at us, what can we really do? Like, let's sit down for a second and like try to figure out what we can do to actually make tangible change, not just like put a like Band-Aid over it.
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure that the health department doesn't have that many employees. Well, at least the last time that I was involved with them, they did not. Like, I think this was like 2019. Especially with the thing that went down in San Bernardino. Do you remember that in 2015 at the RAC building in San Bernardino?
Mm-hmm. Can you remind me?
Where they? Can you look this up, Amber, before I butcher this? 2015 Public Health San Bernardino. There was a man that went in and started shooting all these different public health officials.
Oh, wow.
In the city of Redlands, or was it San Bernardino? It was San Bernardino, and they lost so many workers in San Bernardino County. And most of them were health department public officials. There we go. San Bernardino shooting. Scroll down so I can read the gist of it. Is there anything on there? No, just, what is it, a video?
I think so.
I don't want a video. We get kicked out. Yeah, can you try to find something?
Sure.
But anyways, my point was, maybe they don't want to do it because they don't have enough people. But what I'm saying is they have people for this task force, right?
I think about...
It's strange. It's just weird.
Yeah, I think about like Santa Monica. I remember they had a task force as well. And you just see all of these task force officers, you know, in like this was at the beach. So like they're...
Santa Monica?
Yeah. And I'm just thinking like if each one of them was properly trained to talk to a vendor and to kind of walk them through it versus just trying to enforce a law or rules, like that would make a huge difference. Like you'd probably see more permitted vendors in that area rather than, you know, a lot of these unfortunate videos that we see almost, it used to be like every other month. Now it's almost like every week.
Yeah. I feel like too, like, I mean, I could be wrong, but to be a health inspector, it's also like, it's one of those jobs that's not for everyone. And not anyone wants it, right? Because of everything that comes with it. It's like being it's like being like a ticatero, you know, almost like people hate the people that are behind the street sweeper giving tickets, things like that. It's like one of those hated jobs, right? So I feel like people aren't flocking to become, you know, a health inspector too. So it's
true. And maybe we should have more people, you know, like people who maybe get it, be becoming part of the health department so they can voice these situations and opinions within, you know, like within the department. I think that would be amazing. And I agree, you know, there could be, I mean, over 10,000 street vendors in Los Angeles. I understand that.
Unreported ones too. So you can imagine how many more. Yeah.
So I totally get that. Just for one department to be in charge of this it's a huge task. But again, talking about resources, if there's funding, you can put some of that funding to creating like a specific group that focuses solely on that. It's doable. Why hasn't it been done? I guess. Yeah. Hopefully it'll happen in our lifetime.
When we did I'm not going to name it, but when we did the biggest event in Southern California, I believe with over 280 vending spots for 16 days in the event, there was about 7 public health officers throughout 16 days. They had their own office and everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, they
6 for 280. What is the scroll up? I'm just gonna read the headline. 14 dead, 21 injured in San Bernardino at the this happened December 2nd in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. No. And I think it was like a terrorist attack too. It was
That's crazy.
Not personal.
Was that?
I said it wasn't personal.
I can't remember the story. Just going fast. At least 14 people were killed, 21 others injured by assailants who opened fire Wednesday morning on a training session of county employees at the facility that serves developmentally disabled people. The shooting at the Inland Regional Center on Waterman Avenue, just south of Orange Show Road, marks one of the largest mass shootings in the country in recent years and triggered lockdowns at schools, hospitals, and entire neighborhoods across the city as federal and local law enforcement and officials search for the suspects. There was 2.
Apparently 3.
3? Oh, yeah, third suspect seen fleeing. Wow. Yeah, this thing was all over the news. I remember after this thing, the venue that I worked at, we had active shooting drills and everything, specifically because of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's nowadays I feel like there's shooter drills, everything, de todo.
Yeah, this like you said, we can go on forever about this but that's what's happening right now, right?
At least with street vending world, yeah. But again, I just like street vendors say, they're hopeful that there will be change. Change doesn't happen overnight, and unfortunately, sometimes it's like you got to put in years. But hopefully it'll come.
How do you choose like a story or an angle? Like how does that come to you, or what's the process in that?
Yeah, I think it depends on the story that I'm working on. If it's a feature, it's straight up, interviewing the person and writing about how they got to where they are. But for these more like in-depth reporting, like for the mental health street vending story that we did, Jack Ross and myself did, where we reported for 5 months, talking and surveying street vendors throughout Los Angeles for 5 months. And we realized there was a mental health crisis within the street vending community. Like we didn't go into it saying there's a mental health crisis in it, because you can't determine that unless you're talking to vendors. So we build community with street vendors. We go talk to them. We talked to Avenue 26 vendors there. We talked to a street vendor named Jose Luis, who was shot, and I had reported about what happened to him. I think the year prior to that, to the big report being released, and catching up with them and seeing like how they went through impacted their mental health. But as far as angles, I think again it depends. You can go in a story thinking this is my headline, this is how the story is going to be, and then you start reporting and talking to people, and you're like, whoa, there's like a totally different story here than what I thought it was.
How often does that happen?
It does happen.
Yeah.
Like I promise, sometimes it does happen. I'm thinking even like with features, you think like you kind of skim the person's profile y todo, and you're like,
and what's a feature?
A feature, so basically highlighting a business or a person, and you kind of highlight their journey. So if it's like a brick and mortar restaurant, or like I've covered street vendors who were street vendors and now are opening like their first brick and mortar, like how did they get there? And you think you know the story, and then you sit down with them and you're like, woo, it's way bigger than what I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and as far as like how to find stories, of course, we have people who send some in, but then also just being out there in the community, like talking to people. I have a long list of street vendors that I have on my phone that I stay in communication with regardless of whether I'm reporting on something or not. And again, that's just building that relationship. And there's been many times where one of them will reach out and it's like, hey, this is happening, not to me, but somebody that I know, another street vendor, can you look into it? And then that ends up becoming a story. Or even sometimes I'll help out vendors, nothing relating to like my stories, Because, you know, like you never want to feel, or at least I never want to feel like I'm just talking to people because I want something from you. Like at the end of the day, we're humans, we're journalists, we're reporters, but we're humans, and we got to treat the people that we're interviewing the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you always want to be a reporter?
No, that's the thing. I was a desmadrosa, so I was a troublemaker when I was younger. Didn't go to college right away. I went to continuation school, graduated, did horrible, tried college like twice, failed miserably. And then it wasn't until one of my good friends, my best friend, who's a year older than me, she had decided to go back to school. And she's like, why don't you try journalism? Like, you know, I knew that I wanted to do something where I helped my community out, but I didn't know how I was going to do that, or let alone that I could be a reporter. Like when I thought about reporting, I would think of like Maria Elena Salinas and Jorge Ramos on Univision, because that's what my parents used to watch, you know, or Telemundo. So I'm like, how can I be that? Like, no. But it opened my eyes to a whole new world, and I was super intimidated at first, because you're like, who the fuck am I to like, you know,
it's that imposter syndrome that always kicks in at the wrong moments.
I swear, it's like, but then I just continued pushing through, and I really saw something in it. And
how did you do that? How did you push through that imposter syndrome that we all face every day?
A lot of self-talk.
Yeah.
A lot of like, no, like, you know, you can do this. And also like just having a good support group around me. People that are like, that see things in you that sometimes you can't see yourself,
right.
Or that you need that reminder, because at that moment you don't have the mentality to like be like, go for it, like you got this, you know. So having a good support group too, and talking to colleagues too, like just being vulnerable, and them being like, hey, I think about the same things, you know, like I feel imposter syndrome all the time too. So it's hard though, that it comes and goes.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It comes and goes. Like one day you'll get rid of it for, I don't know, like a day, and then it comes back right in the morning when you're looking at yourself in the mirror ready to go on stage.
Right.
It does that.
No,
Even when you're in the middle of doing whatever you're doing, it just kicks in like that.
Yeah, it does.
But you have to build the thick skin to kick its ass and move it away.
I always wonder if other people feel that, or is it like a like first gen / like Latino thing.
Well, it's not a first gen thing. I'll tell you that right now.
That's why I said / like Latino thing being here.
I think it's just a human thing that people feel.
Well, no, because I feel like imposter syndrome is like you feeling that you're not meant to be doing what you're doing, or meant to be, right? And I feel like maybe people that are a little well off, or maybe grew up in that society or within that, they feel like they belong. They know they belong. They feel that this is their given thing, right?
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
And for us, it's like, yeah, maybe you're not first gen, but you're a few generations, and you're still new to this country. Your family is still new to this country, to where we still don't feel like we're 100% in. And you know, I don't know. I always think about that. Like, is it only us that get imposter syndrome, or is it everyone?
I definitely think it's everyone, but I do think that it does, to some people, tie to that, to like being first gen and stuff, because, you know, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like you just want to make your parents proud, right? Like, you're supposed to be doing better than they are, doing the things that they couldn't do and things like that, and that's always in the back of your head, and you're like, like I need to do more. Like if you're already reaching like a high, like, or something huge happens, you even second guess yourself then. You know, it's crazy, but like you said, you got to push through it.
Yeah, you got to push through it,
because if I always tell people, like, if you're not doing what you're doing, like, who else is gonna do it?
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, who's gonna do it for you, right?
Yeah,
you have something that you want to do, you just step by step, just day by day, inch your way to where you want to be in life, right?
Exactly.
No matter how small the step forward is, it's still a step, regardless.
See, that's important because a lot of people will see a small step and be like, oh, it's nothing. But it's like, it's a
something.
step that, you know, that nobody else took.
Yeah.
Like, and you decided, you woke up today and you said, I'm going to take this first step to making X, Y, and Z happen.
No matter how small it is, it's still a move forward to wherever you want to be.
And I think that that's something too that we as a culture and a society need to learn how to do is give ourselves credit. You know, we're constantly looking for the future and, oh, when I get better, when I do more, when I do this, when I do that, when I land this job. And then you forget of where you were at, you know, 5 years ago versus now. Like all of that is an accomplishment in itself. And it's all working towards, you know, you being a better person. And we forget to see that.
Yes. And it's so important to cheer yourself on and just like pat yourself on the back sometime.
You got to be your own best fan, right? What do they say?
Number one fan.
Yeah, your own number one fan.
Number one advocate. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. Amber's my second. I'm my own fan and worst critic.
Same.
Right?
I'm my worst critic. Like everything, I'm just like double like, oh, like is it right? Like I always tell people like I don't care what I'm writing, whether it's a short hit story or like a big report. I'm always freaking out like, how are people gonna react to it?
Dude, how was the first time when you wrote a story? Like what was the first time when it got published and how nerve-wracking was that?
I remember exactly the first time I got published. It was at school at Cal State Long Beach. And I was I shared a byline with my best friend, who's the
What's
one.
What's a byline?
So basically, who wrote the story?
Oh, okay.
So it'll say like your name or
whoever. Byline. Duh. Yeah. Okay.
No, you're good.
Okay.
And my best friend, who was a year ahead of me, she's like, "Let's go." I think we covered the Women's March during the Trump era, and it was like the huge march in LA. And it was going to be front cover and everything. And it was my first story for my first semester. And I had just said yes because it was my first semester and I wanted to start off strong. I was so intimidated by how fast paced everything was. It was like we woke up like at 5 a.m. We took the train to LA. We covered the march for the majority of the day. Came back home and we're writing and editing up until like 2, 3 in the morning, and then we went back into the school newsroom the next day to finish off like editing. But then seeing that print and like seeing your name in print, and then depending, you know, on the story that you're covering and how important it is, you're just like, damn, like I did that, you know, like it's crazy. And then obviously as a reporter, what you'd really want to see, especially when you're writing about issues, is to see change. And when you actually get to see that change happen, you're like, damn, like we did that, you know, because it's the people you're interviewing. It's not just me as a writer. It's like my stories aren't anything if it's not for the people who allow me the time to talk to them and get to know them and put their stories out there. You know, like as journalists, we're nothing without our community.
Absolutely. Wow. I can only imagine like how nerve-wracking that must have been.
Yes, everything. Every time I publish a story, I'm like, just like, how are people going to react? I hope people like it. I hope the person that I interviewed liked it. And again, it depends on the topic. But sometimes if it's something more controversial, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm just going to publish, you know. But I just hope people enjoy it and see the importance of the stories being told, not just by myself, but other reporters as well.
So what's going on right now in the Amber just shared this story with me. Was it yesterday?
Mm-hmm. The Univision.
Yeah, the Univision story that's been going on. She was showing me some TikTok, some Instagram stuff. So what's the info on that?
Univision.
What's going on?
So I guess like the summary from what I know is, they had for a lot of viewers concerning interview with Trump, where there was no pushback at all. Like it was basically, here's the mic, take it away, you know? And Univision, I mean, you know, we've known the relationship between Trump and Univision hasn't been a great one. We saw Trump kick out Jorge Ramos during a press conference when he was president.
And he's not there anymore, right?
Jorge Ramos,
Yeah.
I believe he's still there.
Is he
Yeah,
still
he's
there?
Mhm.
Is he?
like,
Yeah, he's still there.
Oh, okay. No, no.
but
I must have read fake news then.
But no, yeah, he's still there.
Oh, okay.
But one of their OG reporters recently quit.
Yeah, that's who quit.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that guy. It was somebody else that quit.
Yeah, it was a woman, right?
No, it was a guy.
Oh, okay,
And,
también.
Look it up.
yeah, I feel horrible because I know exactly who he is because my parents watch Univision religiously, which is why it makes it troubling. Because Univision caters, obviously, to the Latino community. And to have, or to give Trump this platform without giving pushback, or not that you have to give pushback to candidates or anybody that you're interviewing, but specifically him, if there's things that he's saying that are not factual or anything, as a reporter, as anything, as a news station, you're gonna want to challenge that, right?
Right.
And it was the opposite.
Him?
Leon
Was that? No, right?
Kraus?
I believe so. If you go to
6 days
images.
ago.
Yes,
That's
that's
him?
who left.
Mm.
So he left Univision, and
Because of the new buyout, right?
yes,
Okay.
I'm not sure if he specifically specifies that in his statement. But it's right hand on hand. And I believe another reporter, a female reporter who used to work for Univision, I think I saw a TikTok or YouTube that she spoke about it and like why it was so controversial or why it was blowing up online and people were so upset by it. But it's because of that, like people look to the news to inform themselves about whatever's going on, whether it's a presidential campaign or local news. People tune into the news because they trust what you're going to tell them.
Right.
And for you to bring this person in and just kind of, again, just give him like the stage without really having like a formal interview
Right.
was concerning. Because again, we do have the elections coming and all of this, and then them blocking, other ads.
Right.
Yeah, they were saying any Democratic election ads will not be.
So how many other they won't be playing? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, I think that's what it said, right? That they weren't going to broadcast any Democratic commercials.
How many other like news stations are doing this with Donald Trump? None.
Fox News, maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe Fox
Maybe
News.
Fox.
Well, it's
and-
like it's becoming like the
But-
Latino Fox News type of. Oh, I'm not saying that it's there, but I guess it's leaning in that direction of.
Or at least that's what people are thinking.
Yeah,
they're
they're
thinking
thinking.
like, where is Univision headed? Because again, like you can't deny their target audience is the Latino community, and if you're going to be misinforming the Latino community or putting someone on there who has actively talked bad about the Latino community, what does that say?
Can you look up how many viewers?
Univision?
Yeah. How many they have like on a given whatever? Must be a lot.
Yes. Yeah, because
They've
it's
been
all
around for
over,
years.
and it's all over the United States.
Right.
Whoa.
Exactly.
really?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not only Mexicans or people in California; it's Latinos in general. People in Miami, people in, everywhere.
It literally everywhere. Colombia. I mean, I think they have reporters everywhere. So it's a huge platform. So it's not just like a small, publication. This is a network, a news station that is well
5
known.
million.
Whoa. In the second quarter of 2022, Univision's growth more than doubled. What is that? To an average daily reach of 5 million, while Telemundo's average daily reach increased by 46% to about 2.2 million, according to data Samba TV provided to Marketing Brew. Wow, 5 million.
So imagine a huge shift that you're giving people on a random day, and people are just shocked and honestly just disappointed. I myself am disappointed, not even as like forget the title of being a reporter, but just as somebody whose parents consumes Univision, like it almost feels like a betrayal.
Right. So how do we begin to, like, okay, this is happening, right? Like how do we begin to start the conversation about like why this isn't a good idea?
That's a good question.
Right?
I mean,
how do we do that? Like, what do we do?
I think
it's hard.
Why it's I mean, the main reason, I mean, besides what this person has shown us, like, you know, he has no filter. Again, it's the station. It's the fact that it is a station that caters to the Latino community, and it almost feels like, are you trying to get the Latino vote, like, for Trump, or are you trying to sway voters by not, you know, the whole commercial thing about them not airing any other candidates.
Is that legal? That's crazy to me.
That's like something new that they implemented with the new, you know how they bought. So that's something new. Yeah.
Whoa.
So it's not something that's been part of Univision for like years or anything.
So they like rewrote the contract.
It's a new policies. And that's troubling because as a news station, again, you want to show both sides and this and that.
Right.
And if you're going to interview, it doesn't matter if you're interviewing a Republican or a Democrat, you're going to want to ask the right questions. You're want to, if there's ever a need to do a little pushback, like give that pushback. And again, that's what it just felt like a special interview with like Trump and like hear from him.
So how recent was this interview? And it was with him?
Yeah.
It was with him.
It was recent. I'm not sure exactly what day.
It was in the past.
It was, like in the past week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was super recent. Mm-hmm. Recent. Sorry. It's super recent. But again, people automatically reacted to it.
I heard they called it like one of the softest interviews with Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the reporter said it was as soft as pillow.
Oh yeah, it was so soft that they were gonna start hitting each other with pillows or something like that.
No, he said it was as soft as pillow stuffing. So like the inside of the pillow stuffing.
So no pillow fights.
No pillow fights.
Trump interview an insult to Hispanic community. What is that? The Guardian. Conservatives defend. Wow.
I'm trying to see when, but I think that maybe I don't like him. I'm gonna say no, but I think that even with whatever they did the interview, it was not what we expected, things like that. But then like the cherry on top of like the icing is just them saying like we're not going to pass, these commercials, like, because there and then they're establishing like we're only going to pass right wing or right, exactly. These things and everything else doesn't matter.
So how much so it got bought out, right? Mm-hmm. Go back. I want to go back to the before all this. So
it's 2019. Am I wrong, Janet? Do you know?
I don't know the exact
I think
date.
It was 2019 when it started getting like transition bought out is what I read.
And I'm not sure how much the amount was, but
because that's how much they wanted the Latino vote is what I'm thinking.
That's what people are thinking.
$14 million. Okay, for $14 million, I can get the Latino vote for however long that contract is going to be.
Because even if you see like previous comments by Trump about Univision and its reporters, like there were bad stuff that he was saying about them. And then after this interview, it was like, they're great people over there, like blah, 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 blah.
The hardworking people over there.
And it's just like, okay. Mm-hmm. So I think it just caught everybody off guard. And I think, especially for viewers that have been religiously watching Univision for years and been tuning in, hey, you almost got it.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah, you're so close.
$13.7 billion. The consortium ended up selling Univision Communications.
2007.
Whoa. Oh, so this is different.
This is a new one, right? It was it Azteca?
Oh, I think Azteca. 2019, I think, is when I seen.
Whoa. While details of the transaction were not disclosed, the Wall Street Journal reported that the investment firms paid about $526 million for the 64% stake in Univision. That leaves Univision an equity valuation of $821 million and an enterprise value of about $8 billion, including debt of $7.4 billion as of July 2019.
So let's even say that it's not only for Trump's benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's for the benefit of the right-wing agenda in any way, shape, or form, because we already see how many people watch it on a daily basis. How many people are going to be influenced to vote this way, do this, do that. Maybe even if it's not even voting, it's just something within their communities or skewing their perception of things. It's just,
I think that's what people are scared of. You know, it's not like something's happening right now automatically, but they're worried that, like, okay, you did this and clearly are taking a stance. Where does that leave you in our lives that we're consuming your news every day?
Right. Like what other? It's just
like, can I trust you? Basically, after years of building trust with everyone.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show how much, as Latinos, how much power we actually have in this country. That, you know, someone would go that lengths to even try to change the agenda on us, because they know how powerful and how much impact we have on this country, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I think. Well, where's do we know where Univision's corporate place
Florida,
is?
if I'm
Florida.
not
Florida.
mistaken.
Oh,
Florida.
Miami.
Florida too, huh?
Yeah. Then
Wow.
they have one out
one
here.
here in LA as well. You can see it from the freeway.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy. It's sad.
It is. I think it's sad, just again, because so many years. This Univision, Telemundo, like these two are like household names.
Are they like subsidiaries, or are they like two different companies?
They're
you know,
two different companies.
Yeah.
Telemundo is with NBC.
Oh, okay.
So Peacock and all of that. And then Univision is its own thing.
Oh, really?
But yeah, like these two have been household names.
Yeah, of
and,
course.
You know, for years. So for something like this to happen, it definitely shook things up.
Man, I wonder what else can be. Like, this is a crazy one. This is wild. And the first thing I thought about was, like, is this legal? Like,
Right.
can you do that? Can you buy out big publications like that and only have a policy to show different things? Because that's a way of censoring.
Right.
100%. That's what they're doing with different forms of information. It's censorship
And we're seeing a lot of
on
it
a
right now.
big, huge scale.
Yeah.
A huge scale. I mean,
Right.
again, you're talking about Univision, one of the most famous Spanish news stations.
Right.
But
ever.
I think their defense would be that it's privately owned, you know, or not privately, but it's. But yeah, I mean, essentially, it's
Censorship.
almost privately owned, where they're gonna be like, I can say, I can do, I can
As they
put
please.
whatever as I want because I own it. I think that's where it's dwindling down to,
And it's a
that's what's happening.
disservice
Yeah.
to the community that has long supported them for years.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how that unfolds, like in the next couple of weeks, months. It's gonna be interesting to see like what's happening there and how Univision is gonna be like.
Are
now.
you writing anything on this, or?
I'm not at
No.
the moment. I'm actually working on a few pieces for street vending, looking into what's happening in Fontana, in Santa Clarita, and a few other places. There's just a lot of things going on. It's
I
very
bet.
the news world like never stops. So it's like just like
There's
a
always something
constant-
happening,
Yeah,
right?
like there's just a constant flood of like information like coming through. So you're just like, what am I gonna focus on this week.
Well, that
which is hard.
That took us to our one of our first questions is like, how do you choose to do all that when there's a lot of things happening in the community?
I think, especially with LA Taco, obviously, we'll try and focus. Okay, out of all these stories that you presented, let's say me, I presented a couple of stories. Which one's like more timely? So meaning, if I were to write it next week, it's just not going to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But also, what's more important right now? Like, what do we need to get out? And is it close to LA? Does it concern LA? Who does it impact?
Mm-hmm.
How many people is it going to impact? And for me, obviously, I'm known for my beat for street vending, so I usually tend to prioritize those. But again, we're new, so should something break, we're there.
Yeah.
Like we have to like pause this and then jump on the next story. But it's hard picking stories because, I mean, everything is important, but to pick what's going out each week, it's hard.
Yeah.
And it takes a group effort. It's usually brainstorming within the newsroom, like, what do you guys think? And then they're like, everybody votes, like this story. And then it's like, okay.
That must be so cool.
I mean, it is. It's interacting with the, my colleagues. I love them. Like,
and it's like real world stuff that are happening around you.
And we get to like kind of, what's the word? Desahogarnos, like,
I'm like, my English brain isn't working.
Mine either. Hold on. Desahogarnos, like,
to
let
vent.
loose. Yeah, to vent. Yeah, that's the proper word. Like, to vent about what's going on. Because obviously, again, I feel like people think of journalists and we're just robots or reporting like news, but like it does impact you, like seeing all of this or getting all this information, seeing everything, talking to people, hearing their stories. Like, pero we try our best.
How do you deal with that? Like, how do you not? How do you go home and not let this impact you 100%? Because I'm sure that it's always in the back of your mind, and I'm sure that it comes up in conversations. I'm sure that things like that. But how do you disassociate sometimes with your work journalism life with your real, like, not your real life? I mean, they're both your real life, but with your
outside
of
of work
home life.
No, I'm very lucky to also have like a job and an editor who like is super understanding. I remember when I finished the reporting for the mental health story on street vending with Jack, we had taken 5 months. Again, it was a big toll. We had interviewed over 30 street vendors, held public forums where, spent like a whole day, like with a street vendor, like on his route and stuff. It was time consuming, and then on the other side, you're hearing, especially this story, because it was mental health related, you're hearing all of these horrible traumas, and at the moment, you're not thinking about it because you're trying to hold space for the person, and it's not about what you're feeling, it's about them, and you have to have that respect and hold space for them. But, it does make you feel like, like, what more can I do? Like, sometimes you feel like, is this report going to change at all? Like, is it enough? Like I have that feeling all the time just because I know change isn't going to happen from one day to the next. But sometimes it feels like, like, am I doing enough with my reporting? And I know reporting is important, but I can't help but feel like that sometimes, like, am I doing enough? But to your question, to answer your question, I have to like completely like go offline and, go walk my dog and get out of the house, actually. Like, get out of the house to, like, just not, like, time away from work is so important, no matter what you do, but especially when you're working in situations where you are hearing a lot of hard stories. And as humans, we're consuming a lot of news right now, and it's, it's a lot of, it's sad stuff that is happening, not just locally, but in the world.
Yeah, and especially like where you're getting your news and how you consume it too, right?
Exactly.
I don't know. I get all my news from Amber.
I did journalism when I first started college, and I really liked it. So I'm a chismosa at heart.
That's what
I'm intuitive.
Say. I was a journalist before I knew I was a journalist. I was a chismosa too.
George's like, you're chismosa. I'm like, no, I'm intuitive.
No, yeah, it's intuitiveness for sure.
I think it comes down to genuinely caring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It's wanting to make a change and see a change and be an impact and be a voice, because there's people that don't necessarily know how to channel their inner self or say what they want to say. And when you have that ability and that power and that platform, it comes natural. So I commend you for doing that and putting yourself out there and really creating a change for the community.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, I feel sometimes like, I wish I could do more. But again, just because I care.
Yeah.
And I get to hear things that sometimes don't go into a story out of respect for the vendors and stuff. And you're just like,
yeah.
What more can I do?
Well, if there's anything that we can help out with, don't hesitate to.
I always tell people, just
shoot us
share
over.
the stories.
Yeah.
We work so hard, and I feel like people don't read anymore. It's getting harder and harder.
I still read.
Yay.
Yeah.
No, but like, just read the stories. And I'm not just saying, LA Taco, lataco.com, but really just support journalism. It's so important. And we're living in such hard times that the reporting and like journalists are so important, just to make sure that they keep us informed and that we know the latest of the latest,
Nice.
Jeanette, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
for coming out and doing the podcast. Share where we can find you and what you have coming up and what you're working on.
So Janet on Instagram _Janet_V, on Twitter, same thing. And follow LA Taco as far as what we have going on. Just go to our IG and you'll see the latest stories.
Cool. And Amber has Janet's LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn, her link tree on the screen right there. I will put all the links that she just talked about in the show description if you're listening to on Spotify or you're watching us live on YouTube. All the links are going to be down in the show description. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. I love talking to you. It was awesome. Like all the cool stuff that you're doing.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Of course. We've been wanting to get you here for so long. You have no idea.
I'm so glad we made it happen. You don't understand. I'm like, damn, ya me perdí my opportunity the first time.
No.
But I'm glad.
No.
We're glad you're here.
We don't take no for an answer. Or at least I don't.
You're like, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen regardless. But yeah, everybody check out what LA Taco is doing. Do you have any events coming up?
No events at the moment that I can think of. We do have Black Friday sales.
Okay.
For LA Taco merch.
Nice.
But I'm hoping I'm not missing anything. But no events so far.
Okay.
But if we are going to have any events, like end of the year events or anything like that, which I do believe we're planning to.
Okay.
LA Taco, you'll find it there. We always post flyers and give you all the information to show up.
Sweet.
And eat and enjoy the time.
Where's my LA Taco hat, Amber?
I don't know. You have a shirt too.
I have a shirt too? Oh, yeah, I do. I should have wore that today.
I should have. I didn't go to the office this week. Otherwise, I would have brought you some merch.
It's all good. It's all good. Thanks for being here. Check out my show this week.
The Mind Buzz Podcast.
Remember, I'm performing live in the city of Long Beach. Check out my links. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Mind Buzz podcast. Subscribe to the Mind Buzz YouTube channel and watch full podcast episodes. Keep up with the hosts, guests, and upcoming events by following the Mind Buzz on Instagram @the Mind Buzz. See you on the next one.